All right, folks, so last night, the folks at CNN decided to have a town hall with a lying, racist, bigoted, sexist, sexual assaulting, tax cheating, misogynistic thug of a person named Donald Trump. Then they chose to hire a former right-wing reporter for the Daily Caller, who they made their White House correspondent, who they made their morning anchor, who is now their 9 p.m. show host, who was grossly inexperienced to handle the job as the one to do the town hall. What happened last night was literally just a host of lie after lie after lie after lie. And then CNN is also today trying to act like, oh my God, that was a masterful job of, in fact, Poppy Harlow tweeted that Kaitlan Collins put on a master class in interviewing. If anybody took that class, your ass would get an F. I don't know how they thought that was a master class. There was nothing master or class about that. If you want to understand, so I'm going to deconstruct a number of things that were said last night, and I need you to understand what happens if you were a real experienced and prepared journalist. Because see, here's the first thing, okay? CNN knew they were booking a liar. The man lies about lies. And so when a person lies about lies, they gonna lie. That's what they gonna do every time. So going in, he gonna start lying from the beginning. And so you must be prepared to deal with a lie. Do y'all understand why Republicans don't like coming on my show? It's because they're used to lying. The problem is I don't let people lie on my show. You literally have to present factual information or I will stop you in your tracks. You don't get to just spew lie after lie after lie. In the first 2 minutes and 11 seconds, Donald Trump unleashed a litany of lies, and but Mr. President, that really wasn't true. And that's how she sounded. And CNN is like, oh my God, she was amazing. Watch the first part of this. Watch this.
President Trump, thank you for your time here tonight. We got a great crowd here in New Hampshire, a lot of voters with a lot of questions about what your 2024 term would look like, what another Trump term would look like. We'll get to the voters shortly, but your polls show that you are dominating the Republican race right now, but you are also under active federal investigation for trying to overturn the 2020 election results. Your first term ended with a deadly riot at the Capitol, and you still have not publicly acknowledged the 2020 election results.
Okay, stop right there. Now, she goes, you're under federal investigation. No, a real journalist would have said, first and foremost, you're under federal investigation. You have been convicted in New York State Court for your organization, Trump Organization, cheating on its taxes. You have been indicted by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. You are under investigation by Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. You were found liable just yesterday by a court in New York for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. That's how you open it up. You lay all of those things out. Then Kaitlan goes into asking him, oh, but you haven't said that the 2020 election was fair. The man has been lying about it since he lost. You think all of a sudden, because you showing up in an Olivia Pope white suit, that all of a sudden he's going to just go, hey, guess what, Kaitlan? You're right. It was a fair election. No. Press play.
Why should Americans put you back in the White House?
Because we did fantastically. We got
Stop
12
right
million
there.
more.
You ask an open-ended question. First rule of journalism, never ask open-ended questions. She should have said, why? Why should anyone remotely look at you as a front runner when you are under investigation in all of these places and you consistently lie about the 2020 election? Not what she did. She let him say all of this.
More votes than we had in, as you know, in 2016. I actually say we did far better in that election. Got the most that anybody's ever gotten as a sitting president of the United States. I think that when you look at that result and when you look at what happened during that election, unless you're a very stupid person, you see what happens. A lot of the people in this audience, and maybe a couple that don't, but most people understand what happened. That was a rigged election, and it's a shame that we had to go through it. It's very bad for our country. All over the world, they looked at it, and they saw exactly what everyone else saw. You look, even if you just look recently with the 51 intelligence agents, that made a 16-point difference. If you look at the FBI, and Twitter, they call it Twitter files, made a big difference. If you look at
Mr. President, back to what you just said there, though, it was not a rigged election. It was not a stolen election. You and your supporters lost more than 60 court cases on the election. It's been nearly 2.5 years. Can you publicly acknowledge that you did lose the 2020 election?
Stop. Okay. Can you publicly acknowledge you lost it? The man just sat there in front of you and said it was rigged. What the hell are you doing? And then she goes, oh, well, I mean, so you had 60 lawsuits. No, Kaitlan, this is how you say it. Donald Trump, there were more than 60 cases. Your team lost all of them. Your firm, you hired 2 firms to look into election rigging, and they concluded there was no fraud. Then she brings up Republican officials say, I hate that phrase. Play it.
Let me just go on. If you look at True the Vote, they found millions of votes on camera, on government cameras.
Stop right there. He mentions True the Vote, a crackpot organization. Does Kaitlan say, Donald Trump, True the Vote has no credibility whatsoever? No, she doesn't. She lets him keep talking. Press play.
They were stuffing ballot boxes. So with all of that, I think it's a shame that what happened. I think it's a very sad thing for our country. I think it's a very sad thing, frankly, for the world, because if you look at what's gone to our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes. You look at inflation. What's happened to inflation? It's just destroying our country.
Now, she goes, do y'all have the part where she mentions Republican officials? She goes, oh, Republican officials, you know, he's like, well, who? She goes, oh, Republican officials like in Georgia. Really? Is that what you said? Again, this is how you respond to that. Which Republican officials? The Republican Secretary of State in Pennsylvania, the Republican Secretary of State in Georgia, the Republican Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia, the Republican Governor in Arizona, the Republican Governor and Secretary of State in Arizona State. You literally name them, and you go down the line, all of those people who said, and you say, your Attorney General, Bill Barr, you go down the line, and then you actually say, you actually name the Republicans in Congress. You don't go, Republican officials. No. That's not what you do. And then there's a point in there when he brings up Georgia, what took place in Georgia. That's clip 30, okay? We have that one. So here's him discussing Georgia. Again, what CNN should have done is use on-screen graphics, played actual sound bites of individuals who are Republican saying Donald Trump is a liar. Play.
Another investigation that you're facing, which is the one that's happening in Georgia, where they are investigating your efforts to overturn the election results in the state of Georgia.
I did nothing wrong. It was a perfect phone call.
Let me finish my question. At the center of that is that call that you had with the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, sure.
Given the fact that there are indictments expected to come in that case this summer, is that a call you would make again today?
Yeah, I called questioning the election. I thought it was a rigged election. I thought it had a lot of problems. I had I guess he's Secretary of State. I called. Listen to this. There are like 7 lawyers on the call, many of them from there. We're having a call. We're having a normal call. Nobody said, oh, gee, he shouldn't have said that. Why? If this call was bad, I questioned the election.
You asked
if this
him to
call
find
was
you
bad,
votes.
I didn't ask him to find anything.
Stop right there.
The audio
Stop
tape.
right there. She goes, you asked for votes. He goes, I didn't ask for votes. She goes, there's an audio tape. No, CNN. You do what I'm about to do. Press play.
This
Mr.
call
President,
was
there's
bad.
an audio of you asking
No,
him
the
to find you.
audio. You play the audio. That's what you do.
Look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won you this morning and you said, well, there was no criminality. But I mean, all of this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It takes a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000.
Then what you do, you play Raffensperger saying he asked us to find votes. And then you say, Donald Trump, you just, on that audio call, you asked them to find votes, yet you just stood right here and lied to us saying, no, you didn't. That's how you hold somebody accountable if you're going to have a town hall. You literally play the damn video. You play the video. So January 6th came up. January 6th came up. And so he was asked about January 6th. He was asked about, so we're going to play the first January 6th soundbite. And again, I just want y'all to understand how you are supposed to question a liar. Listen.
Do you have any regrets about your actions on January 6th?
Well, you know.
Okay, again, a dumbass, open-ended question. We already know he has no regrets. So why in the hell would you go, do you have any regrets about January 6th? No! What you say is, Donald Trump, X number of cops were viciously beaten that day. X number of cops suffered significant injuries. According to Capitol Police, a number of them have still yet to return to the force. X number of people have been arrested for their actions. They have been found guilty in court. And you name them, and you list them, and you say it continues. And then you say, are you proud of what you did on January 6th? You don't ask an open-ended question. You have to ask the question by stating the net result of his actions on January 6th. Press play.
January 6th was, again, we go back to it, but January 6th had to do with the fact that hundreds of thousands of people, and you don't see the pictures very often. A lot of the people here probably were there. January 6th, it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. That was prior to the walk down to the Capitol building. I don't think, and I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people. I've never spoken to a crowd as large as this. And that was because they thought the election was rigged. And they were there proud.
Get ready for 13.
With love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day.
Really? They had such love in their heart. That is, if you were a real producer, you cut to the video of them beating, macing, tearing through barricades. He was asked about Proud Boys. Press play.
When you said you are considering pardoning a large portion of those charged with crimes on January 6th, does that include the 4 Proud Boys members who were charged and convicted of seditious conspiracy?
I don't know. I'd have to look at their case, but I will say in Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot. Just like in New York City, you can't get a fair trial either.
So you're saying the legal system not fair. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So So check this out. Loves cops, huh? Well, he got an Ashley Babbitt question. Clip 16. Listen to this and listen to how Kaitlan just sat there like a bump on a log and did not respond.
But I think the reason the timeline is so critical here, because going back to your influence, in that 3 hours, over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her, and she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason. And he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but
bragging.
one person who was at the...
Okay, straight lie. This is what she should have said. Really? Here's the clip of Ashley Babbitt that day on January 6th. And then you say, Donald Trump, was the door barricaded? Were they told not to enter? Why, if she was a patriot, why was she trying to break into a barricaded door at the U.S. Capitol? And why are you calling her a patriot and you're calling that officer a thug, the officer whose job was to protect members of Congress, including your vice president? That is how you ask the question. But that's not what happened. And so what CNN did, CNN literally gave free rein to this man to lie in front of a group of Republicans in New Hampshire who was clapping and applauding and cheering. They platformed his lies, and they literally had a grossly inexperienced person asking the questions. There are other women at CNN, Erin Burnett is one, who could have actually hosted the town hall, done a better job. There are folks like Jim Acosta, who he hates, who could have done a better job. But that's not what CNN's intent was. So CNN is like, oh my God, this was wonderful, this was amazing, it was great. Kaitlan was just unbelievable. That literally is what the chairman of CEO, Chris Licht, said today on their morning call. You want to hear delusion? Press play.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I want to kick off by congratulating Kaitlan for what I can only call a masterful performance last night. I couldn't be more proud of her and the team that supported us on the ground and back home. Tough to imagine anyone navigating such a tricky assignment with more ease than Kaitlan. She asked tough questions, followed up, fact-checked again in real time, and as you can see, that was not an easy feat. I am aware that there has been people with opinions / backlash, and that is absolutely expected. And I will say this as clearly as I possibly can. You do not have to like the former president's answers, but you can't say that we didn't get them. Kaitlan pressed them again and again and made a lot of news. Take a look. I think Axios probably did the best job of just laying out everything that is new that we learned about a guy who could very well be the guy who's challenging Joe Biden for president and could quite possibly be president again. And I think it's very important that we learned his positions on Ukraine, January 6th, abortion, the election results, pardoning people. There is so much that we learned last night about what a second Trump presidency would look like that is incredibly important for the country to hear. So that is our job, is to get those answers and to hold him accountable in a way that no news organization has done literally in years. And while we all may have been uncomfortable, hearing people clapping, that was also an important part of the story, because the people in that audience represent a large swath of America. And the mistake the media made in the past is ignoring that those people exist, just like you cannot ignore that President Trump exists. So the idea of doing so, I believe, is an overcorrection of the days when we gave him unfettered rally coverage and showed podiums. So we all know covering Donald Trump is messy and tricky, and it will continue to be messy and tricky, but it's our job. We're going to do it fairly, toughly, and aggressively, as Kaitlan did last night. I absolutely, unequivocally believe America was served very well by.
America was served. First of all, if I'm Jim Acosta or some of the other people at CNN who was holding Donald Trump accountable for the 4 years he was in the Oval Office, I would be pissed off to hear the CEO say the media did not hold him accountable before. Oh, in years. I would be mad as hell if I'm out there kicking his ass and doing my job, and this guy all of a sudden claims, oh, now last night Kaitlan Collins was really holding him accountable. Lauren, I'm gonna go to you first. What we saw was journalistic malpractice. What we saw was a poorly produced town hall. What we saw was someone grossly unprepared for the litany of lies. And if they actually call that live fact checking, they clearly never watched this show if you want to see live fact checking.
Yeah, you know, I had not heard that audio, Roland. I had read stories with the audio, but the fact that he had said we'd learned so much. I mean, remember, Chris Licht comes from entertainment. And as somebody who worked at ABC News when it went from Cap Cities to Disney, I know what that looks like. We had Michael Eisner come in and not give an F about serious news and dismantle Nightline. Chris Licht is from the entertainment world. And frankly, after listening to that, I'm pretty convinced he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. You know, your analysis is excellent as usual, Roland. But the central question I think we have to think about is, was what CNN, were they doing entertainment or were they doing news journalism? Because I don't think they actually know what they were doing. I think David Zaslav and John Malone and Chris Licht and Kaitlan Collins are committed to putting Trump out and platforming him in a way that will get him even with Joe Biden by the time we get to this time of the year next year. I think that's their goal, because what I think we're watching was a strategic business decision to get somebody in the game that they make money off of. They make money off of Donald Trump, or at least they perceive that they're going to make money off Donald Trump, because that's what they did before. This moment happens to arrive right at the time when CNN's ratings are plummeting. They had a 10-year low. They laid off a bunch of people in Q4 last year. They got rid of that CNN Plus thing because that was a complete disaster. You saw Chris Cuomo is gone, Don Lemon is gone, and now they have ratings that are tanking. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right at that time when the ratings are tanking, they decide to get the worst president of the United States, who's been criminally convicted, who is obviously a sexist, who is obviously a fascist.
No. He's been civilly convicted. He's been civilly convicted. Go ahead.
He's been civilly convicted. That we know who he is. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. There are no mysteries here. Okay, and they put him on TV and they platformed him. And frankly, I think what's going on is that we're watching the slow, tedious demise of cable news in the form of CNN. They know their ratings are gone. They know their market share is gone. They know their viewership is down. And now we're making a decision to put somebody on who is dangerous so that we can have spectacle and ratings and make money off the spectacle. That is what they are doing right in front of everybody's face. And the idea that Kaitlan Collins was so great. I mean, I know they're trying to gaslight us. I know they're friends. We've got friends in the news business. You know, we've all been, Roland, I know you've been at, I've been at major companies where you're sitting in the company and you're doing what you do for your friends that are up there. But I suspect there will be a staff mutiny. That is my prediction. There are too many people in CNN who are serious journalists. Although I know for a fact looked at that last night. You could see the look in the eye of Anderson Cooper and Jake last night. They knew that they had effed up. They knew this was trash. And there's just no way it can hold, because you have a bunch of serious journalists sitting there, and then you have this thing last night that makes absolutely no sense.
Here's the thing, Reese. First of all, we are in May. We're in May. So this idea that, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this town hall now. Are you serious? I mean, like, are you really, really that serious? And again, it wasn't like it was a town hall of undecided voters. It was literally a Trump pep rally. That's exactly what it was. The laughing, the giggling. And then he goes, oh, well, the media acted as if these people never existed. I'm sorry, were you too busy on the Colbert Show? Weren't you the executive producer of Morning Joe? Again, Chris Licht, Morning Joe kissed his ass for a very long time in 2015, 2016. We knew Hillary Clinton called them deplorables. We know exactly who they are. We've seen enough New York Times articles about fucking diners in the Midwest to know who the hell these people are. We already know all of this sort of stuff. And so we can go over and over and over again. What we're dealing with here, again, are folks who act as if we're stupid. No, we know exactly why you had Donald Trump on, and it was a joke of a town hall, period.
I couldn't agree more with you or Lauren, but this was about more than just Trump. Keep in mind that Kaitlan Collins is a I guess, so-called reformed radical Republican who was a part of Daily Caller, which was formed by Tucker Carlson, a right-wing website. She was the regular on Fox News, spewing her white nationalist talking points. And so what CNN is trying to do is launch her with this white girl boss, white girl magic power suit moment with the president facing, our former president, disgraced president, facing off as though she is going to conquer the world in her suffragette white. It's a joke, but it's something that, Chris Licht has made a number of questionable decisions that they are betting the farm on. And so I mean, obviously there's no urgency with this, like you said, with the primaries probably being a little bit under a year out. But the urgency is that they're trying to move her, and it's been announced, into the 9 p.m. primetime slot. They already didn't kick the black man out. They done kicked the white man out. And so now they're going to go with their 31-year-old white Republican woman that they're trying to rehabilitate into being a mainstream newscaster. And I don't think that it's going to work. She's going to flop just like everything else is flopping over there on CNN.
Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there, and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
I got to stop you right there,
because nobody talks about him. They talk about us. Just so you understand, I had every right to do it. I didn't make a secret of it. The boxes were stationed outside of the White House. People were taking pictures of the GSA of the various people.
I got to stop you right there, then, because the Presidential Records Act, which is not well known to a lot of people, I read it. It does not say that you can take documents with you. It says actually that they are the property of the federal government.
It says you talk, you negotiate, you make a deal. It's not criminal, by the way.
Y'all, this is real simple, okay? I'm not about to argue about the Presidential Records Act. Again, a real host and a real producer goes, first of all, you don't say, I got to stop you there and let them keep talking for 30 more seconds. What you say is, oh, let's see what the Presidential Record Act says. That's what you do. You literally call it up. You literally put it on the screen, and you actually read it in front of them, and it says, and that's when you say, hey, Donald, it says right here, blah, 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 blah. You did not do that. That's how you rebut lies, Chris Licht, Kaitlan Collins. Lee, your perspective as a former elected official on that mess of a town hall last night.
Well, first of all, brother, I want you to just kind of relax.
Oh, no, Lee. First of all, this is relaxed.
This is relaxed.
Oh, no, this ain't. No, I've been way more animated. Oh, I'm very relaxed.
Oh, I know.
So I don't need to woo-saw. See, Lee, you got to understand something. See, you said, Lee, you're a preacher. This is my pulpit.
I got you.
This is where I drop the word, and I'm trying to warn everybody who's watching. I'm trying to warn people, because I'm telling you, if we allow this to continue with other networks, these people could very well be back in control. And if you thought January 6th was bad, that pales in comparison to what these evil, demonic imps plan to do if he's back in.
This ain't the time.
My point is this. My point is this, Roland. My point is this. I don't know a whole lot about journalism. That's your lane.
I do. Been doing it since I was 14 years old.
I know. I can tell very clearly that this has nothing to do with journalism. And I think you've hit it right on the head. This was an economic decision that CNN made. This was a ratings decision. Chris Licht said that we learned a lot of new stuff. Man, everything that I heard, because I didn't watch the interview because I knew what it was, but everything that I've listened to, even right here, sitting down right now, I learned nothing new. And we knew this is what he was going to be saying. We knew where he stood on January 6th. We knew where he stood on the election. We knew he didn't say anything. What they did was they gave him a platform to continue to spew that. And I believe exactly what you said earlier. This is an effort to make the election closer than it ever should be. This is an intentional effort, because if this election is closer than it is right now, that bodes well for them in the ratings. It bodes well for them economically as well.
Well, here's the deal. Rebecca Aguilar is a immediate past president, society professional journalist. Rebecca is a freelance reporter out of Dallas. And Rebecca, look, Chris Licht has his mandate. He wants CNN to appeal to more Republicans. He's made that perfectly clear. That's what David Zaslav wants, because that's what John Malone, the largest individual stockholder in Warner Discovery, actually wants. And so that's why they've gotten rid of opinionated programming, all those different things. And guess what? That's fine. CNN, first of all, has been there before, this whole idea we're going to be down the middle. That was the case when I was there. They would not have opinionated programming. And then when Jim Walton was worldwide CEO. So that ain't nothing new. But here is the fundamental issue, Rebecca, again, that is dangerous for the public. When you know the moment before that person walks in the door, you know they're lying. When you know that they are going to gaslight, when you know that they're going to demean women, when you know he trashed their own host, calling her a nasty woman, a nasty person. So when you know that, there's a certain way you have to prepare for that. You've been a journalist for quite some time. You know, if you got an ornery mayor or county commissioner or county judge or whatever, you know how you must prepare yourself to approach them versus a politician who actually is going to answer the questions. What we saw was CNN allow just flat out lies for almost an hour and a half.
And you know what? Thank you for the invite. They threw the lamb to the lion. That's all there is to it. This was not a town hall. It was a Trump rally. And I think what they did here is they didn't prepare Kaitlan Collins for this. You have to prepare, just like you do any big assignment. You prepare, you do even practice runs. Throw me out. It's basically sometimes like if any of you guys have been to court, you know, okay, what do you do this? If he answers this, what do you say? And the problem with her is that she was not prepared. It was a poorly produced show. They have fact checkers. They have those big screens. You've seen them.
Right.
So, you know, she never took control.
And Rebecca, don't have the fact checker on in the post panel. No, you literally, as you say, and you don't go, well, let's go to so-and-so. No, in real time, if you want to do real time, you say, no, Donald, this is what you said. This is what it reads. That's what you do. You don't go, oh, I read the Presidential Records Act, and it says, no, you make him, and make his ass read it with you.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Right. You know, I think she needed one of those notebooks. When he said the lies about the wall, right? I would say, excuse me, and look, and just say it. But the biggest thing that she did not do, and again, let me just say, I think Kaitlan Collins is a decent journalist. I think she has done a decent job at the White House. but she was not prepared for this job. And nothing against people who are young, because we were all that age at one time. But there comes a time
I was better than that at her age. I can tell you that.
Right. But there comes a time where you say, I can't do this. Why they didn't have Jim Acosta or Dana Bash, right? Why not them? I would like to know, and if there's any investigative reporter out there or any of my sources at CNN, I want to know, was the Trump campaign given pictures of everybody and say, who do you want? Because you know me, if I'm a strong politician, I want Collins, 30 years old. You knew he was intimidating her. Here's another thing that I find hypocritical. Licht gets rid of Don Lemon on allegations of misogyny and all that other stuff. But then because he allegedly said something that made Kaitlan Collins uncomfortable. But then you put her in an arena with a man who's a misogynist? The hypocrisy. And I think what angers me the most, because you've seen me tweeting, is that as journalists, I am the immediate past president of the Society of Professional Journalists, a lot of journalists who work hard every day, a lot of journalists out there, we bust our ass and we want trust from the public. We tell the truth. And what happened in that town hall? All they did, there was, you're right, masterful performance, no way in hell. She asked tough questions. She didn't follow up. She didn't push. Some producer could have gone into her ear and said, no, push back, something. We got answers. No, they got lies, lie after lie. We learned so much. We didn't learn anything else. Trump just kept spewing whatever and here's another thing. Stop calling them untruths. They're lies.
Right. Oh my God. But see, but again, though, here's the deal. That's the media deal. I'm telling you, I was on ABC this week, and I think it was February 2017, and this came up. And I remember all of 2015, 16, and even the first 2 years of his presidency, they were all scared to say lie. And I remember, I think it was Jake Tapper and Judy Woodruff. I think they would say, well, in order for us to know that it's a lie, we have to know at the outset the person means to do it. I said, listen, if I brought my ass home at 3 o'clock in the morning and I came up with a BS story, my dad would be like, son, why you lying? He wouldn't sit here and say, well, I need to understand what. No, he know why I'm lying. Because I came home at 3 a.m. He know the lie is coming. So we know, but they won't do it. Not one time did she say, and again, I don't call him Mr. President. I can't use that title. Not one time did she say, that's a lie. What you just said simply, and it's not just even that, Rebecca, it's also how you say it. Not one time did she say, Donald, what you just said simply is not true. This is the fact. And the way you hit somebody like him, you go, fact, read it.
Right.
Fact, read it. Fact, read it. Fact, read it. And then I am anticipating him going, well, that's fake news. And then that's when you say, so anything that you don't like, you call fake news, even though it's a fact? You gotta know what's coming when you again, an experienced person, I know what you're gonna say, I know what my rebuttal is gonna be, and I already know what your rebuttal to my rebuttal is gonna be, so I know when to come back with. And the reason you use graphics and monitors in video is because it's hard for the person, Rebecca, to lie when you say, we just heard your voice. And then you say, was that you on the phone call? Was that you on the phone call? Did you make that phone? That's how you do it. You have to box the person in, not just go, so why? No, you don't do open-ended. Rebecca, go ahead.
It's about having control. She never took control. The minute he was defaming Miss Carroll, I would say, excuse me, whether you call him Mr. Trump or not, Mr. Trump, please, you cannot be doing that. The minute she heard the audience laughing, excuse me, audience, you have to be respectful. This is not a fraternity party. This is not a concert. You have to be respectful. You use that tone and take control. She did not take control. You also have to have courage, have the balls to say, Mr. Trump, you are lying about that, and look him right in the eye.
Yep.
And number 3, have the confidence. And this is what happens. What you build confidence with experience. And you know what's really sad about this?
All right, no, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish that. You build confidence with experience and knowledge.
Exactly.
See, you can actually not have a lot of experience, but if you have the knowledge, you can hit back. The knowledge, and so yes, the knowledge, the experience, and the confidence, that's a deadly potion. Go ahead.
But I also think that, I hope that her real friends at CNN will guide her through this. Because imagine being criticized like this. It's awful. It's horrible. But what's really sad, last night I'm watching, the panels. By the way, there's no Latinos on their panels. Their panels. And I hear Van Jones. Oh, she did a great job. Stop, Van Jones. Another talking head that it's like, stop. Stop trying to make her look good when she herself knows she was weak. I'm sure she does. A real journalist is going to face that reality. Yep. That doesn't mean she'll always be weak at this, but someone needs to tell her. And and Chris Licht, he needs to stop drinking his own Kool-Aid, because that's what he's doing. And all those other people, the Anderson Coopers, the Jake Tappers, they're not going to say anything. They're not going to criticize. They're going to rehash this. I'm sick of it today. They're rehashing a train wreck over and over.
Right.
But those guys aren't going to say anything because they make millions of dollars.
Rehashing a train wreck, trying to convince us it was a spectacular F1 race. Lauren, this thug called January 6th a beautiful day. We saw with our own eyes what actually took place. The reason this is so bothersome is because, and I need everybody to understand what I'm about to say, because this is just critically important. When Donald Trump started running, what did he do? He kept calling everything fake news. Why did he do that? Because he wanted to sow seeds of doubt and discontent. What has been created in the last 8 years is that there is a subset of people, yes, deplorables, who literally believe every lie he tells. We have undeniable truths, and these people go, oh, didn't happen. They reject everything. They are so deranged that they were so pissed off when Fox News called Arizona, they rejected Fox News to go to Newsmax and OAN, which is even crazier than Fox News. Now, why is this important? It's because these people then go into office. There is a, and I just need everybody to understand that this is not just about Donald Trump. Let me say this again. This is not just about Donald Trump. What this thug, let me be real clear, y'all, what the news media unleashed by heralding this guy's a genius, position him to then run, is that you now have folks who are infiltrating public office all across the country. That's Moms for Liberty. Taking over school boards, firing superintendents, changing curriculum. Go to my iPad. Mark Elias tweeted this here. There is a woman right now who was one of the Stop the Steal judges. This woman right here, Patricia McCullough, who's on the ballot. This was what it says. Patricia McCullough, who was on the ballot on Tuesday, handed Donald Trump a rare legal victory in 2020 and has sided with the GOP on other election cases, only to be repeatedly struck down by the high court she now wants to join. The reason why what CNN did was so dangerous, Lauren, is because they are creating these imps, these acolytes, these supporters of Trump who now who are in state capitals, county commissions, school boards, city councils, governor's mansions, and on the federal bench.
Yeah, they're platforming and amplifying lying and deception at a time when misinformation and disinformation is huge. And it's sort of two things that collided into what you just said, Roland. One was that the election of the first black president of the United States, we started seeing these sort of fake news organizations come up from Breitbart, et cetera, and so on, and they were creating their own reality. And on the back of that was Facebook amplifying dissension and conflict to make money, and disinfo and misinfo. And where did that lead us? That led us to an attack on the U.S. Capitol. And so what that entire thing has done is it's created a reality that some people live in that others do not live in. Trump is well aware of that as somebody who's been in the media for so long, and he knows how to manipulate the media really well. The thing that I've kind of I'm struggling to figure out here is whether or not these executives at CNN actually put him on, because I am not really defining what I saw last night as a journalistic enterprise or an enterprise to protect the truth. I actually think what we saw was people who agree with Donald Trump amplifying Donald Trump. Because I have a hard time believing that John Malone at 80-something years old, who's a multi-billionaire, doesn't agree with Donald Trump. Because you do not amplify as a news organization in that way somebody that you do not agree with. So Chris Licht and Kaitlan Collins, who just happens by some coincidence to have worked for Tucker Carlson over at the Daily Caller, to your points, Roland, the way she did her questioning was very open-ended. You know damn well that Donald Trump is going to steamroll what you say whatever he wants, and lie. And we don't know damn well, too, that lying works. But my bigger question for this is, was he platformed because Zaslav and Malone and Licht and Collins wanted to platform him because, in fact, they agree with him? That's the part that, because I can't imagine them putting somebody on they don't agree with and amplifying him to that extent and allowing him to say all of those things that we knew he was going to say, and then try to act like it's a big shock to them when the show is over. Well, it's not a big shock to them. Now they're gaslighting us all day trying to pretend that worked out just fine, which of course it didn't. And as I say, the only thing that gave me hope is I could look into Anderson Cooper's eyes right when that panel started, and I could tell that he knew. I worked with him briefly at ABC a long time ago. He knew that this was wrong. I mean, it was crazy. And Laura Coates was basically about to turn the corner on the air last night and say, this is crazy, and got interrupted by Jake. So clearly there was a feeling there among the journalists, not the commentators, not Van Jones and these people who do opinion for a living. I'm talking about the journalists. They knew that what they put on the air was journalistic malpractice. Yep. Okay. I mean, you can't do that. We deal in a situation here where the Capitol just got attacked, dealing with a fascist liar, okay, who was very set to crash our democracy. Everybody knows that. Yep. And that is what they platform.
Lee, first of all, go to my iPad. Lee, here's a perfect example of what we're talking about. A right-wing takeover of a Colorado school board has some of the town's conservatives deeply concerned. When you read this particular story here, this is in Woodland Park. They came in, they hired a new superintendent. They approved a charter school without any public notice. They were so abysmal, they forgot to apply for grants that are going to fund the district. Literally, they enacted a MAGA playbook, and the district now is in total disarray. One, this happens when people don't vote. But two, this is what happens when you let nutcases come into elected office.
Absolutely. It's intentional, right? It's intentional. And I'll say this about the Republicans. And, I was in elected office at the local level, and they focus on things like the school board and county commission and these small town city councils and small time city mayors and things like that, because guess what? They now have a platform to get elected at the next level. And then they get elected to the next level. Next thing you know, they're representing entire states and members of Congress and things like that. And it's a playbook. So let's be clear, it's a playbook. They're not coming in, making up stuff on their own. They got the Tea Party playbook, the MAGA playbook. They got the talking points that they all kind of abide by, and so you're seeing this happening all across the country. And then here's the quiet thing that maintains the power of a state, even when it doesn't adequately reflect the voters themselves. You have redistricting, right, where they get to gerrymander the lines and across the state. So in state legislatures all across the country, you have state legislatures that don't reflect the voting population because they've gerrymandered these districts to maintain the power much longer than the voting representation would bring. And so when you look at things, going back to this town hall, when you allow Donald Trump to have this platform and just have a full, I don't know how long the town hall was, quote unquote town hall was, but he had however long it was of a platform to say whatever he wanted to say. The very definition of gaslighting. He's making you believe that what you're seeing with your own eyes is not true. And so when he does that, right, guess what he's doing? He's also giving the talking points for those who are down ballot, at the state legislatures.
But also what he's doing, Lee, he's also, by running roughshod over Kaitlan Collins, he's showing, see, this is how you treat them. This is how you disrespect them. This is how you diminish them. Absolutely. And it cheers their people on. Rebecca, I will go to you for the final comment here, because this is, again, and so when Lee was like, hey, calm down, no, because see, this is what I need Lee to understand.
I got you, Roland.
No, hold on. This is what I need you to understand. I literally saw this years ago, so let me explain. I was at CNN, Rebecca, from 2007 to 2013, and we were every time they would interview Trump, I would go, why in the hell are we talking to Donald Trump? And I remember being in the Washington Bureau, going up to Stephanie Katubi, who was a booker for CNN, for Wolf Blitzer's show. And I said, why in the hell is Wolf interviewing Donald Trump? Oh, every time we talk to Donald Trump, we get great ratings. I said, but he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Why are we talking to him? Are we trying to talk to CEOs? Go talk to real CEOs with real companies. I said that. But they were enamored with going on his plane, going to Trump Tower, because they loved the batshit stuff that came out of his mouth, Rebecca. Now watch this. Now watch this. I was on CNN. Heidi Phillips was the anchor. I forgot who the other person was. And Trump came up. And this is what I actually said. I said, anytime Trump comes on CNN, we should run a crawl at the bottom that says, this is for entertainment purposes only. Right. Rebecca, I got an email. And the email came from Ken Jouts. Ken Jouts was the executive vice president at CNN. Ken Jouts told me in an email, do not criticize Donald Trump when he is coming on our air. He sent me that email. Ken Jouts is still the executive vice president at CNN. I'm not saying Ken Jouts is a Trump supporter. What I'm saying is he literally told me not to criticize Donald Trump when he was coming on CNN. I remember when Obama was giving an economic speech or something, and Piers Morgan had Donald Trump on to rebut Obama. And I remember, because I was in Chicago, I remember being in my townhouse, and I was watching this crap, and I was tweeting, and I was like, why in the hell are we not talking to a real CEO? Why are we letting this man run his mouth? He's not running a real company. Right. Joe Scarborough has been going off on the CNN debate. Really, Joe Scarborough? You, the same Joe Scarborough and Mika, who let this man come on the air, phone in, tossing all of his BS? The same one. Here's the point that I'm making here, Rebecca. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, New York magazines, all of these media outlets, they created this monster. They created this thing as he was this know-it-all who was brilliant, who was smart. Everybody talks about Jeff Zucker giving him, because he was failing, he was bankrupt, the Apprentice show. No, it was mainstream white media that propped Donald Trump up as this brilliant, self-made American businessman because they loved the crazy stuff that came out of his mouth, and it was like he's ratings gold. And Rebecca, they still think so. Les Moonves said in the 2016 election, Trump may not be good for America, but he's good for CBS. They know why they are doing this. And there is no journalist, producer, booker, executive in TV, radio, or newspaper, or magazine, or digital. If they aided the rise of Donald Trump, they cannot stand today on their moral high horse unless, Rebecca, they apologize for creating and giving America this monster. You have the final word.
Yeah, they have to recognize their hypocrisy. They have to realize that they allowed this man, they helped this man become president. It was 24/7. And yes, CNN could say we got 3 million viewers last night, and it was a business move also. But what's really terrible about this is that they hurt journalists, good journalists. All these places that you named, yeah, there were the enablers, the Trump enablers, and then there was the other group, right? The ones that are at the mass shootings, flushing out other stuff around the country. I'm glad you showed local reports, because thank God for local reporters, because they're outing some of these people. You know, one of the things at SPJ is we have the Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics, go to spj.org, and it says it is clear. Seek truth and report it. Minimize harm. Yesterday, there was so much harm that Trump rally created, right? Act independently. There was no acting independently. He owned them last night. Trump owned CNN. And then there was be accountable and transparent. Just hearing Licht today on that recording, he's not being accountable. He's not being transparent. He's living in his little bubble. And, you know, one of the other guests said, well, you know, everybody's controlling everything. Here's the deal. Chris Licht is someone's puppet from above. Kaitlan Collins is Chris Licht's puppet. You know, he's the puppeteer. And I don't know if Kaitlan Collins is, you know, on the Trump agenda. I do feel that she was the easy one to put in there and, you know, move her like a little puppet. Because as you see, Roland, and you know, she was scripted. She wasn't even listening. She was trying to follow each question. And again, who wrote those questions? The producers. If I'm there, I'm looking into every producer, every executive producer, every supervising producer, who wrote this and why. And if I'm Kaitlan Collins, I would go to each one of them and say, why did you make me look like a fool? Because it will be out in YouTube and out in the world forever. Forever. But what CNN did last night is they hurt us, the true journalists who care about the truth, who care about helping the public. Chris Licht did not serve the public. He did them wrong. He did them wrong.
Rebecca Aguilar, Lee May, Lauren Victoria Burke, I appreciate it. Reese Cobra had to go. I appreciate Reese as well. Here's my final comment on this, folks, and it's very simple. You've heard me say this on this show numerous times. If you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. At the end of the day, I'll talk about you. Why did Philip and why did David Lowery and why did why a lot of these black conservatives, why do they get so mad at me? Because I won't let them lie. I won't let them come on this show and feed us their talking points and not deal with fact. See, y'all may even realize, again, I simply cannot let lies stand or erroneous information. Hey, when Lauren was talking, Lauren made a comment about criminal, and I said, no, it's civil. That was a brief fact check. Why? Why did I do that? Because if you're watching the show, if you're listening to this podcast, if you hear something on this show and then you hear me say nothing, you'll go, hey, what I heard was true. And so I wasn't mad at her wasn't demeaning, but it was simply, no, it wasn't criminal, it was civil. Because it's about facts, it's about truth. And the problem is, when you have a known liar walking through the door, that I must gird myself for battle, because I'm not battling him, I'm battling the lies. Because there are people who are watching. There are mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and cousins and church members and sorority members and fraternity members and farmers and doctors and lawyers and engineers, the people who are actually watching, and they are seeking truth. And one of the fundamental problems in journalism is that we have too many people who are in the position that I'm in who don't know shit. And they're depending upon some producer in the control room to feed them questions and feed them answers, or walk up to them and handing them blue cards with the facts on it, because they do not read. And so what do a lot of these politicians hate? They hate it when you are the person and you actually have done your homework, because they can't get one over on you. That's why it is called preparation. That's why it is called getting ready. And the problem that we have, we played it the other day when the reporter in the news conference asked President Joe Biden a question about Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans' bill dealing with the debt limit, and he goes, what's in it? What's in it? She couldn't even tell him. She was asking the President of the United States a question regarding the bill of the Republicans, and she had not even read the bill. And that's a White House correspondent.
Thank you.
Supposedly, the creme de la creme. Supposedly, the top of the heap. And so what then happens when we don't give the public correct information? They run with lies. They run with lies. I'm not going to play the clip, but if you go to Twitter, and I rarely give Steve Doocy any credit, but this morning on Fox News, Steve Doocy challenged Congressman James Comer and saying, you have circumstantial evidence against President Biden, but you do not have any factual information. Of all the people on Fox and Friends, not that idiot Ainsley, not that idiot Brian Kilmeade, but Doocy, who really is dumb, he literally was like, y'all do not have the goods. And they stuck to it. Y'all, Kellyanne Conway said alternative facts, and no such thing exists. It's either true or it isn't. And that is the only standard that will exist on this show and on this network. And if there is a host on this network who does not abide by that principle, they will not be on this network. And I will not allow people to come on my show and knowingly lie and spread it thinking it's true when we know it isn't. Because I have too much respect for the audience to allow them to move forward in life having to listen to somebody lie and I say nothing. Chris Licht, Kaitlan Collins, CNN, do better, because somebody is watching and listening. They are expecting you to be better. All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, way to $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, way to $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.